today we will be having the online knowledge series webinar on the topic innovation as a successful strategy for pharma. Yes, I am Sunil Chiplunkar. I am with Group Pharmaceuticals. And when we say innovation, it's almost always the icon light bulb on, right? We always think that something novel, something new is going to happen. Exactly. We are going to celebrate innovation today in today's webinar. And how neatly this innovation comes across when we see all the various Amul ads, don't we? So this is also a kind of an innovation where we see very novel way of communication. Here there is a very good ad which says India becomes vaccination, Amul shot in the arm. And another ad which says Amul lockdown in bread, stay healthy, not hungry. We have another very interesting one that Thali Haath thanks kijiye, Amul, Janta's favorite. How creative. Better saaf than sorry. Amul, always safe. What wonderful innovation, isn't it? So there are so many such interesting, innovative things happening across the world. Here is a very nice, interesting cup with 3 handles, so that when you are talking with somebody, you don't have to search for the handle. And a mother has innovated a baby mop dress. So when the baby crawls, it cleans the floor. So Thomas Edison was the most prolific inventors in history with 1,093 US patents in his name. And when you say, oh my gosh, you will wonder what Shunpei Yamazaki does, because he has got 5,973 patents from Japan. And his patent applications in other countries, it comes to 11,353 patents, mainly on computer display technology. In fact, Japan is known to be one of the engines of drug discovery. Various drugs like favipiravir, ivermectin, teneligliptin, lansoprazole, all have their roots in Japanese drug industry where innovation is a way of life. In fact, the story of ivermectin is itself a very novel one, which started in animal health and is today considered to be the wonder drug in human health. With just a single annual oral dose, this is a boon to treat disfiguring diseases like onchocerciasis, which is also known as river blindness. And in the treatment of river blindness, Merck has given ivermectin free to those who could not afford to pay in Africa. So this is another very good inventor, Silverbrook from Australia, who has got 4,744 US utility patents. So India, of course, we have got that interesting Jugaad concept. So here you will be able to see very interesting photographs of how Jugaad is being practiced, innovative things. Here is a bike helping power a pump. And you had oxygen which was being delivered in the auto rickshaw, being innovative to meet the circumstances on demand. And here is a policeman in Karnataka, Bangalore, where he is dressed up his headgear as a virus to strengthen the message on the virus. And this is a very interesting Jugaad picture where a teacher is teaching online by suspending her mobile phone so that the activity of online teaching can be done. And this is another Jugaad where milk delivery is done in an interesting process. And Anand Mahindra got a shock of his life when he saw a jeep on an auto. So many such Jugaad innovations are on. And there is, in fact, a Jugaad shop in New Delhi now where interesting, novel things are sold from waste. It is called Jugaad shop. And we all like to see children smile, isn't it? Like Dr. Ketan Bhai sir, he is smiling so much, and so is Dr. Mahesh sir. And of course, Arunji. That's because happy people smile 40 to 50 times a day. Children smile 400 times a day. And average people like me probably smile 10 or 20 times a day. So KDPMA has organized this very good webinar on innovation so that everybody learns to smile. And today KDPMA, which was founded way back in 1965, is a flagship association of pharmaceutical manufacturers with 80 plus members to promote fellowship, unity, cooperation among the pharmaceutical manufacturers of the state, to promote GDP, GMP, and also to ensure that the interests of the drugs and pharmaceutical industry in the state are taken care of. And we belong to this innovation ecosystem in Bangalore and Karnataka, where various companies are doing very interesting, innovative things. Group Pharma has its own original innovative range of oral care formulations. Embiotic, of which Harish Jain is a director, he has invented a paracetamol with a dissolution advantage. There is a small company called Meditech, which is located in Mangalore, Baikampadi Industrial Estate. He has launched virgin coconut oil and he is doing very good business as a pure brand. Syngene, it is an innovation-led contract research and development manufacturing organization offering integrated scientific services from early discovery to commercial supply. What a wonderful network of people. We have got the time release expert in Srushti Pharmaceuticals in Karnataka. Can we forget Micro Labs? Their Dolo 650 through all their innovative marketing where they have represented it in vaccination centers for post-vaccination has made Dolo 650 a household name. Their carry pill was a historic launch, especially in the management of dengue. We also have Himalaya Drug Company, in whom the DNA itself is innovation. Biocon keeps doing a lot of innovative things, including they tried with the ingestible insulin. Many works are in progress. And we have a very interesting company called Atrimed also, which I have not showcased probably here, which is also doing excellent, interesting research. And Atrimed has now produced a formulation which is #1 in Germany for psoriasis. So what wonderful work is being done at Karnataka. These are just some of the KDPMA members and the work that they are doing. And yes, if I can see the attendee number is growing and going up. Thank you very much for coming in. And now I request Dr. Mahesh sir to kindly represent the welcome address, followed by introduction of speaker by Mr. Harish Jain. Dr. Mahesh sir.
Thank you, Sunilji. Thank you very much. Indeed, what a wonderful way to start a conversation on innovation. And I really appreciate everyone who's joined, taking the opportunity to be here in this dialogue and discussion. First and foremost, thank you very much and welcome to Ketan Bhai for taking the time, coming and talking to us. I'm sure our members are looking forward to very insightful conversation and discussion. Thank you to all the members who have joined. Sunilji, you've started off with a very nice note on innovation. I'll just add a few more things from a thought process perspective, which will then set the tone for the rest of the afternoon. First of all, I do want to say this is COVID time, so hope you all are healthy today. I know this is not a rhetorical question, but it's actually meant for us to think about. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all say that we would be healthy all the time? The truth is that's not realistic, right? Hence, we have high quality drugs that we make. Hence, we have the need to make them affordable and available. And that's where innovation comes in, right? We need innovation. As Sunilji just showed, we are leaders in frugal innovation. Tata Nano, the cheapest ECG, many of the examples that he showed, the cheapest insulin. All of these come from the work that we do in India using our own ways of what I call as stripped down versioning of components that are already known in many cases. We need to move to a completely innovation mindset, which is starting from the concepts of how did we even come up with zero. So and this is where, if you reflect on where we are in India, 17% of the world's brain is in India, but 2.8% of the world's research output comes from India. This is where we need to look at the timing of where we are in the society. It's a time of forced innovation. Innovation is about new ideas and applying the existing technology in pre-existing market conditions, but for a completely different application, such as changes in how we package a drug, such as changes in how we deliver a drug, such as changes in how we track whether a drug is even being taken as per its schedule or not. And all of those are innovation opportunities and many, many more. Now, pharma executives, of course, contribute in a very meaningful manner to this by coming up with problem solving of this nature all the time. But to me, this is not just a moral problem, it's a practical one where we need diversity. We need inputs from all different segments and sectors to come in. And frankly, I think again, to the examples that you just showed, innovation is needed and possible at all levels and all stratas. Without going into many of the trends that have been coming up, and looking forward to hearing from Ketan, by some of the things that are not traditionally pharma, I want to call out as things that will change pharma, and we need to be looking out for that. Blockchain technology, not something that we thought was really a pharma thing, but is going to be a big component of what we do in pharma. Flexible manufacturing, precision medicine, additive manufacturing, big data, all of these things are going to be revolutionary. And I think this is where we need to recognize again the components of diversity that come in, taking us into what we call as radical innovation. And there are many more ways for us to compute and understand data through the way by which industry or leaders in the industry come in, make decisions, and bring in inclusion. This is where we need to hear perspectives, insights from what I call as the C suit to the B suit, B being the boiler suit. And today, of course, we hear from an industry captain. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to you, Dr. Harish ji, to hear about our speaker today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahesh sir. It was very lucid delivery. And now to the most handsome pharmacist we have here, Dr. Harish Jain. Sir, the floor is all yours. Please unmute yourself. Your golden voice is not coming in.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Ketan Bhai, for being here. And when I first talked to him, and I shared that we have both common interest in innovation, and I'm sure he didn't take more than a minute to say, yes, I'm going to address the KDPMA members. And it was so nice of you. And I'll add on to what Mahesh ji had said. I think I always say that innovation gives an opportunity for generic players. Like most of us MSMEs, we are generic players, and innovation gives a opportunity for generic players to compete on quality rather than the price. And this is where we get into most of the time problems. So having said that, I would like to read out a quote what Dr. Ketan Patel always says, that Indian innovators in different domains should unite together and bring synergy in their innovative endeavors. I think this is what is KDPMA also is all about. It is preferable that SMEs, size innovators, also possess the infrastructure and skills to market their innovation in India, to sustain their innovative pipeline, and to minimize dependence on marketing partners. Having made our innovative drug delivery products successful in the Indian market, we are now taking this world-class innovation of Indian origin to global markets. Our dream is to make India's reputation as an innovator in the global healthcare arena. I always say that we, in terms of India, pharmaceutical industry, in terms of market size, is almost third in volume, but 14th in value. I think it's only innovation which can take us up to the value chain. Now, these are the golden words of Dr. Ketan Patel, who sums up his philosophy and established the importance that he attributes to innovation and power it has to transform India. I think one thing what I think missed, I should have started. Dr. Ketan Patel is one amongst us. He was born in Bangalore, and he's as much as a Kannadiga as he might be a Gujarati today, but then he is as much a Kannadiga than as we are. Now, under his leadership, Troikaa Pharmaceutical has attained global reputation as a research-driven pharmaceutical company with operations in over 80 countries. He is an innovator, entrepreneur, and pharmacist with more than 40 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. He is also the key driver for innovation at Troikaa. His journey of innovation finds place in a book called The Innovators, published by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And I always say, wherever I go, I'm a fan of this company. I can't think of in India any other company who has done so much of our innovation anybody else than what Dr. Ketan Patel has done. He is a gold medalist during his B.Pharm days and Master Pharmacy program from LM College of Pharmacy, Ahmedabad. He also holds a PhD in Pharmaceutical Technology from Dharam Singh Desai University, Gujarat. He is the pioneer of NDDS domain in India, with several gold medals for his excellence. He has several patents to his credit. His company has amazing 395 patents and 13 NDDS drugs to his credit. I can't see any other Indian company having that kind of patents and NDDS. I always say that there's one product, Dynapar AQ injection. This by innovation, they successfully fought the MNC for the place, and MNC and that product of MNC you can't see anywhere in India now. Dynapar AQ has done that. You have another product called Dynapar QPS, then Naso B12. Then they also have a unique painkiller lozenges, which relieves pain caused by cancer upon rolling in the mouth. Wow. As a result of series of patented innovations in the year 2018, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Government of India conferred upon Troikaa the award of the most innovative company. Award was conferred by late Sri Anant Kumar, again R1 Kannadiga minister. Owing to Dr. Patel's extensive contribution in his pharmaceutical sector, the Honorable President of India has appointed him as the chairperson of first Board of Governors of prestigious Naipar Gandhinagar. I think that's a great honor for a fellow pharmacist. Dr. Patel is a member of Board of Directors of iHub, one of the biggest startup institutes set by Government of Gujarat. Besides, he is also closely associated with many prominent institutions like IIM Ahmedabad, Gujarat Technological University Ahmedabad, National Forensic University Ahmedabad in various honorary capacities. He's been taking Troikaa to the greater heights. This is very important for the startups and the budding entrepreneurs, young budding entrepreneurs. He started with a modest investment of rupees 8 lakhs in 1985. It is in fact 1/4 of what I had started. And Dr. Ketan Patel has steered Troikaa Pharma towards becoming a significant player in Indian pharmaceutical industry. The company has grown from a small factory at an employee strength of 15 to more than 2,100 employees. Constant innovation and aggressive marketing has resulted in steady growth for each successive year. With corporate headquarters in Ahmedabad, Troikaa produces its world-class products at its state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities, one each at Ahmedabad and Dehradun. Troikaa primarily focuses on NDDS. The company firmly believes in providing superior therapeutic benefits by improvising the formulations through innovative technologies. Troikaa's several breakthrough inventions are protected by patent applications in India and abroad. And coming not in between the audience and the Dr. Patel, the star speaker for today. Over to you, Dr. Patel.
Thank you very much, Harishji. And thank you and the office bearers for giving me this opportunity, because as an innovator, I always feel that there should be more who could join me in my journey, because being alone also is not a good idea. The government doesn't listen to innovators at all. So while we have so many patents, there is a rampant infringement of our patents. Dynapar AQ itself, we clock 180 crores a year, and the infringement loss of sales is 380 crores a year. But we can't do anything, because it's all ultimately at the judiciary level, and judiciary, you know how it takes a long time. So while the patent life is clocking out gradually, the decision is still pending at Gujarat High Court. We got an injunction, and the company against whom we got the injunction is indulging in contempt of court without getting worried about the outcomes. Probably they know that they'll just get a rap on their knuckles for doing this. But it's going to be long drawn out. We are not going to give up, and we are going to recover the damages for sure, because this patent has stood the test of more than 69 patent offices across the world. So, and there are 2 companies which have questioned the post-grant stage, one at IPAB, 2 in High Court. But we know that all of them are going to be knocked out, just a matter of time. So, Harishji, I'm thankful to you, because I would like to share my experience. And since I started with 8 lakh rupees, it should give all those present and attending a lot of hope to do what we could do, because we didn't have that kind of a huge R&D when we started. But what is required for innovation is ideas, actually, and then follow up the ideas with perseverance. Let me start, because I'm going to make it in 2 parts. The first is, of course, growth through innovation. I'll just share the screen.
Dr. Ketan Bhai, 1 second, I'm interrupting you. I want to acknowledge the presence of few stalwarts who are there with us. There's Dr. F.V. Manvi sir is there amongst with us.
Okay.
Amber sir is there.
Oh.
Okay, Doctor, our all mentors from Government College of Pharmacy, Dr. Karvekar sir is also there with us today. Dr. Shrenik Shah is there with us. So and Ashok Madanji is there with us, and many more stalwarts are there amongst with us. Thank you all of you.
This triggers a memory. Recall Dr. Karvekar. Hi to you. We were together in medicinal chemistry at LM. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
No?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Visible.
So obviously we had this mission, and that is how we ended up innovating. Initially with kind of difficult to manufacture products, but subsequently we started coming up with originals. I'll skip through. So this is our identity. We want to make small efforts continuously and cheerfully put forth pyramid up to become an edifice that stands out as great work. So how do we do that? Is constantly ideate and challenge established paradigms, come up with drug delivery systems, and back up whatever you've done with human clinical trials so that the customer believes in you. So if you notice it's here, we have focused on novel drug delivery, and that is what I believe any mid-size or a small company. When we started, we were small, of course. Today we are large scale, but NCE, new chemical entity, is not some our piece of cake. In fact, world over, you see a paucity of new chemical entities coming, and even the ones which are getting introduced, most of them don't add value. They're just marketed through muscle power of the multinationals. So, whereas in NDDS, there is a scope. There are so many molecules which have been introduced between 1980 to 2000, and many of them had lacunas. And that gives an opportunity to a drug delivery scientist to make those therapies more meaningful with higher efficacy, lesser side effects for both those advantages. So this is just a few pictures of our R&D. So the first two inventions were basically India-centric, a need for the country. The first one was what you see on the left side is a kit for nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, which was required at the time when we had very strong tensions with Pakistan, and nerve gases were quite in vogue and expected to be used. So there was no antidote to nerve gas available in India, and we got in touch with DRDO. Actually approached us. So then that took us to antidotes. So then some other company approached us. They were using a lot of cyanide, and they wanted a cyanide antidote to be designed. So we worked on the chemistry and the pharmacology, and we designed a kit. The kit B for the organophosphorus is gone. We spent 2 years developing it in the hope that the orders would be at least 50 to 100,000 kits. But all we got was about 40, 50 kits. And so we didn't make money on it. But there was a satisfaction that we made India self-sufficient. After that, I think the nerve gas is lost kind of favor from all the armed forces. And the cyanide kit continues to sell. We are amongst the 3 manufacturers of the kit in the world. And we sell across the world, right up to Latin America, countries like Peru, and countries like Indonesia and Philippines in the east. The third was, of course, Dynapar AQ, which I'll talk about, and then the others. So our innovative streak is milestone by several path-breaking inventions over the years. So the first one is 1987. This is the kit I talked about, and this is what it can do. And this heavy kit, weighing about 120 kilos, had to be designed to float on water. because in case of an emergency, the soldiers may even need to throw it out of a boat or something. So that was engineering part, which we outsourced. And finally, after a lot of trials, in 87, actually, we took almost 6 months to develop a container which could float on water because nobody, thinks to design these kind of things. So we had some small manufacturers in Ottawa trying to do it, and ultimately we could make a kit which floats on water. And this is the cyanide thing to combat cyanide poisoning. Unfortunately, this got designed after the Bhopal disaster. Otherwise, had these kits been available, the disaster could have been mitigated in a huge way, because this works very fast. Especially these amyl nitrite diureos, which you see, I have moving the cursor, they instantaneously start reversing the blockage of hemoglobin by the cyanide molecule. And then there are the two other injectables which also help. And so third is, of course, the Dynapar AQ, which has now become, what I told you, a huge brand, not only in India, but in almost 50, 60 countries across the world. We sell it as a brand at premium pricing. So it has the advantages: low viscosity, painless, low volume, allows the injection to be administered in the deltoid, and of course avoids embarrassment, because earlier the 3 ml diclofenac from Novartis, it had a very high viscosity, it was 3 ml, so it used to cause a lot of pain at the site of injection. So that was the irony which caught my attention actually, that such a strong painkiller is causing pain at the site of injection ranging from 2 hours to 12 hours. So I tried to figure out how can we make this painless, because if it indeed could be made painless, and if it could be given in the arm muscle instead of the buttock, it will surely be a huge advantage for the patients and for the doctors. And another thing is that we always try to make innovations which suit Indian patients. So, and once it suits Indian patients, the innovations will also suit the rest of the world. They may not suit the developed world, because the medical practices, the way they use the drugs, etc., is quite different. To elaborate, for example, in the United States, if you see, the analgesia is predominantly delivered by opioids. It's not the problem now that they have an opioid epidemic, but then they have stuck to it. Being such a rational and scientific community, I don't know how they did that, but if you look at it in the hospitals, there's no diclofenac injection in the US. Major pain management is morphine and derivatives, fentanyl, etc., and some tramadol, and now paracetamol. If you look at England and Europe as a whole, diclofenac injections are approved, the 3 ml version, but it's always delivered after diluting in IV fluid through the vein. So that means the doctors in Europe don't administer the drug by the intramuscular route in a very predominant manner, because the patients ultimately end up in the hospitals where it is always given through the IV drip. But India and the rest of the world, diclofenac injection is predominantly delivered by the intramuscular route. Therefore, the problem was more acute for our country and rest of the world. And that is why the product has succeeded in India and every country where we've launched it. Because the advantage of low pain, or rather almost negligible pain, advantage of being able to give in the deltoid, etc., are very significant advantages when it's delivered by the intramuscular route. So these are the disadvantages. This is the kind of tear that used to happen. Post-marketing surveillance of Voveran shows that there are several cases of abscess that happen after administration of Voveran injection. But see the beauty of the whole thing, that if an Indian company would have invented such a product where there was incidence of severe pain at site of injection and even abscess, do you think the product could survive? It would be knocked off. But that is the power of the multinationals. And they have they continued to sell the product till Dynapar AQ came in and exposed their weaknesses. As I said, they can be given only in the buttock, so it's embarrassing. And Dynapar AQ overcomes all these advantages and being consistently number one for 6 years. in fact, it took a great effort for us to be number one, because the moment Dynapar AQ started having almost sale equivalent to Wolveran, Wolveran actually came out with a 1 ml version of their own product. And because our patent was very strong and it had a very wide impact and coverage, the claims had a very broad coverage. So it was not leaving any space for any company to modify or tweak the formula and make the product. So the next best thing they did was that they tweaked the formula, but they used an additive which is prohibited for use in parenterals. And that additive, of course, didn't find mention in our patent, because if I'm filing a patent for a parenteral product, I'm not going to give a list of additives which are also used in topical products, or which are specifically prohibited for use in topical. So they got that leeway. I could sue them, but then because we knew that this was an additive which was also nephrotoxic, and diclofenac itself is nephrotoxic, so there is a synergy of nephrotoxicity which is very likely. There were no studies done, no trials done. Just because my product had completed 4 years, as per the rule, they got the license. So we lodged a complaint to the regulatory authorities. A lot of back and forth, but ultimately I realized that we have to take it to the High Court. So we filed a petition in the Delhi High Court, and finally, Wolveran and the product was banned. After that, we really became number one, because again, we all Indians, whether we like it or not, whether we agree or not, we have a severe suffering from the colonial mindset. There was a huge chunk of doctors who refused to believe that our product is superior. And that suddenly, we cracked that whole segment. They really woke up, and they in fact conveyed to our field staff also कि यार हम लोग तो मान नहीं रहे थे आपका, आप हमको तो ओवरान बोल रहा था आपका गलत है. तो that gave us a real big advantage, but it was a very tedious fight of almost 4 years. But I fought it also for the Indian patients. कि आप लोग उनके कंट्री में तो ये हो ही नहीं सकता है. वहाँ तो गलती से एक टैबलेट दूसरी बोतल में निकलता है तो न्यूज़पेपर में आता है. यहाँ पे आप एडिटिव दे रहे हो विच इज नेफ्रोटॉक्सिक एंड कंबाइनिंग इट विद अ नेफ्रोटॉक्सिक ड्रग, एंड यू वांट दैट यू शुड बी अलाउड टू बी सोल्ड. At one stage, the High Court judge threw the file. He said, "You guys are lucky you are in India, otherwise you would be behind bars." So, as I said, it's patented globally and marketed in almost more than 55 countries. Now we are on the verge of getting the registration for the European Union, so that will add another 40 countries. So we got a national award from DSIR and award from the Industry Federation of Gujarat. Then next was Harish ji or someone mentioned Dolo 650. So let me deal with that innovation first, because that's a very simple but a very, I would say, a powerful innovation, because paracetamol at 500 milligram is a very good antipyretic, but analgesic dose is higher, usually 1 gram, but in India 1 gram is never used because we have low body mass. So coming out with 650 milligram actually covers both the sides, and pain is more prolific than fever. Of course, in COVID that changed a bit, but even before that, Dolo 650 has always done exceedingly well, and it's become a household name. So my real appreciation to Micro for having come up with this idea so long ago. Zyka BD was an attempt to make it twice a day, because the half-life of paracetamol is so short that if you want optimum efficacy in chronic conditions, you want the drug to be there in the body, not get washed out in peaks and troughs. So this is Zyka BD. If you see, the design is also special. It depicts the way in which the drug is released, first as a spurt, which is depicted by the square here, and then in small aliquots, so that the drug levels are steady for 12 hours. The product has done reasonably well. So let's pass this. This is the lozenge which Rishi आप बोल रहे थे. So this animation will it's actually containing a drug called fentanyl, which is a very very potent narcotic, 50 times more potent than morphine. Now, if you can normally patients with terminal cancer, they get bouts of pain even when they are taking morphine. That's why it's called breakthrough pain. Now, at that point of time, an injectable would help, but most of these patients are usually at home in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So by the time the doctor comes, the breakthrough pain on its own subsides. But during that period, the patient has a severe dent on the quality of life. So this one actually starts working in seconds once the patient puts it in the cheek, and then it has an duration of action of just about an hour and a half. And in between, if the patient feels that he's got enough pain relief, he could even remove it from the tongue. So as he's swirling the stick, the drug is getting released and absorbed. And it's very affordable. Of course, it has not done very well because of the regulatory hassles of being a narcotic, but we have done well in the international markets. The good thing about innovation is that everything did not be successful in India. Each market has its nuances, and if you have a wide footprint in the developing world, if something doesn't sell here, it may be selling in some other countries. Now, this is something which doesn't do well here, a very simple antacid. Now, usually all of us, when we take an antacid liquid, we know, or even if you chew the tablet, the whole mouth becomes chalky, full of chalk. Very unpleasant sensation. So we made an antacid which one can chew, suck, or swallow. So if you want to chew it or suck it, it still is very tasty, non-chalky. And if you just want to bypass that whole taste experience, then just swallow it. So typically gastritis is in the stomach. So you can swallow and get the results. Esophagitis is in the esophagus. There either chewing or sucking helps. So it's a very versatile product. Again, it's doing very well in the international markets. India is swamped by Digene and Gelusil. And besides, if you know, the prices of antacids are unbelievably low. So we've not even focused on this product in India. So this is the technology. Actually, the whole simethicone has been enmeshed into a kind of an additive to make sure that it doesn't, in combination with the antacid, the simethicone creates a very chalky and sticky paste. So here we have separated the two and got a very good product actually. International markets, it's doing very well in Latin America and Africa, and now in Philippines. We are now gradually expanding our product portfolio in Southeast Asia. This is one more truly a magical product. When we apply a topical gel, cream, or aerosol, it is documented in textbooks of medicine that less than 1% of the drug goes through the skin. The patient feels the effect because of the counter irritants. So if you apply, say, Voveran Imal gel, you won't feel anything because it's a gel without counter irritants. But you take the other brands, they cause a lot of burning and cooling sensation simultaneously. And that lasts for 15, 20, 25 minutes. So everybody knows how the pain pathways are blocked by this counter irritant mechanism. So patient feels good. But if you notice the prescription trend on IMS, you will find that for almost every prescription of a gel or a aerosol, there's always an oral prescribed. So the real work is being done by the oral because not enough diclofenac is going through the skin. So QPS is an acronym for a quick penetrating solution. The bottle is patented, the carton is registered, and the bottle won the best pack award from the Packaging Institute of India. And another advantage is that it gives a metered dose. So you can specify to the patient whether you need to apply 2 doses, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many. Unlike the gel where you just take it out and start applying. And here you don't have to really massage it. You just have to spread it with the fingertip, and the solution goes through the skin in about 15 to 20 minutes. So this is a kind of a study. As I said in the beginning, we need to provide robust evidence to the medical fraternity. Otherwise, the credibility of Indian innovation is so weak that they start questioning you. So in this case, we need a microdialysis study where a small capillary is put below the skin and it's semi-permeable. Then you apply the drug on top of the skin. First Dynapar QPS, then washout, then the other comparative gel. And because if the drug goes through the more it goes through, the more it enters the capillary, and it's detected in the when the liquid from the capillary is tested. So this is what Dynapar QPS delivers, amount of diclofenac, and this is what Overrun delivers. So we have so many doctors who have told us and given black and white, hundreds of them, that in many cases of low-grade pain, they just have stopped prescribing orals, which is a big advantage for the cardiovascular and the kidneys of the patient. And overall, they have said that their consumption of NSAID for the chronic patients has gone down by at least 25-30% because of the availability of Dynapar QPS. So this study was published in a very reputed journal, and then we also innovated and conducted one of its kind study by radio labeling the diclofenac in Dynapar QPS and in the gel. And you can see how these are the then pictures are taken on the gamma camera. It was done at one of the defense scientific research institutes. So if you see the radio tagged diclofenac is traveling, is supposed to travel. So the more it goes into the skin, the lesser will be the presence on the surface. So, I mean, the more it goes into the skin, sorry, I made a mistake. So the protocol is that you apply it one version on one knee, second version on the other knee, allow 30 minutes to pass, then clean it off, and then take the gamma camera pictures. So when you clean it up, the diclofenac on the surface goes away. Whereas one which has penetrated doesn't go away because it's in the tissue now. So you can see in all cases, the density of the stain with Dynapar QPS is much higher, not just in the knee, but also in the back. So these are the studies which actually convince the doctors, because doctors themselves know that topicals don't work much. So we wanted very strong evidence, and this evidence helped us so much. It's now the second largest prescribed brand. The studies, most of them, we got them published, and so this is the finding: the high radioactivity of diclofenac at the sites where Dynapar QPS was applied confirms that QPS provides higher penetration compared to the diclofenac gel. And we got a national award from the Technology Development Board in the year 2015. And now you're going to see this product more often. Neeraj Chopra, we have chosen him as a brand ambassador. We thought that rather than taking film stars, we needed an achiever and a champion. So the punchline is champions ka champion. So this is starting on the 15th of February. So since we were so close to the date, I thought I'll just incorporate it. The reason why we've opted for a parallel OTC route is because you can't cover so many doctors through medical reps always. And the product is so good that once a person uses it, he's bound to come back for the repurchase. This is another product which is serving a very good need because there's a vacuum. It's a topical solution of heparin. Now, what you get in the market is an ointment of heparin, which was launched in the 60s by German remedies. As I said again, doesn't go through the skin at all. So it is normally applied on the veins which have become hard post insertion of a catheter. And if the catheter resides for more than 2-3 days, then the vein becomes hard. And then in 10 days, it naturally, 10-15 days, it becomes normal again. So the ointment is working like a placebo. 10 दिन लगाया तो play soft हो गया तो everybody is happy. But this one, Phlebitroy, QPS, again a QPS platform, it can bring down the phlebitis within 3 days. And if it is applied prophylactically, the phlebitis doesn't happen. Several publications have come out now. It's a very radically new concept, and there's also a problem that in India, many patients don't even bother about phlebitis. Because India में तो हम बोल देते patient बोले कर ये हो गया है मेरे को हाथ में तो बोला हो जाएगा 10 दिन में ठीक चिंता मत करो. But again, international markets, these are the finer things which are really appreciated by the doctors. So I'll skip the details. And it's patented in 42 countries. And these are the, as I said, lots and lots of publications are there from varied doctors, most of them not sponsored by us. And this is one of the most exciting products till now, a nasal B12 with a NasoMax technology. Again, this pack has also won the best packaging award. And it's patented in several countries, including the European Union. So the advantages are listed. As you all know, absorption of B12 is a big challenge. Orally, it's very unpredictable, depending on the physiology of an individual, also depending on the intrinsic factor. Whereas parenteral is short, but very painful. And 5 to 6 injections with a weekly interval. So very tedious, time consuming, and compliance becomes an issue. Naso B12, 1 puff in each nostril on alternate days for 2 weeks. That's 6 doses. It restores the blood B12 above 800. And then if a patient takes every fortnight, then it will constantly maintain the blood B12 levels. Now, B12 deficiency is a huge thing in India. And that is why we thought, as I told you in the beginning, that this product has no value in the United States or Europe. But rest of the world, it does. And we have a wonderful patent on this one. And it is already been granted. The publication is in a very reputed journal, Endocrinology and Metabolic Disease. You can see the red. This is the injection, blue. And this is the Naso B12. Some doctors actually refused to believe this, and they asked our boy to sit outside. They administered the drug to the patient, and then they sent the patient to the pathology to get the measurement done. Because आपने यहाँ देखा होगा, it's just 8-10 minutes का 8 hours का result है, so this is 0 hour result, which means around 10 minutes. And when the results came out, they were really shocked that it was not just a gimmick; it was in fact happening. Another benefit is serum hemoglobin also has gone up because you are able to so steadily increase the B12 concentrations in the body. And these are the findings. This is the award which we got for Dynapar AQ. I was fortunate to get it from Dr. Kalam. This was for the QPS. And then this was for the best patent award given by IDMA. And several awards for quality as well, and overall as a R&D company. And this is the R&D, and this is the first plant, the one at Ahmedabad. So 8 लाख में तो ऐसा नहीं हुआ था. I should have put the picture of what it was before this was renovated. It was a micro scale, not even a medium scale. Everything was semi-automatic. Then we renovated it in 1990 and improved it. This came up in Dehradun later on. And now this is a place where we are building modular plants. It's near Sanand. And now coming out with the new sterile facility. So these are the existing blocks. This one new is coming up. This is for the future. And this is the R&D center. 3 high-speed sterile lines. Entire equipment we are going to rely from Europe, because we've been manufacturing injections for 35 years now, 40 years. And we've seen the kind of havoc our Indian machines wreak, especially the downtime which they give. And once you have a downtime, your quality of the product is very, very susceptible. And we have also, because we are selling innovations, we have salespeople in the international market. And the strength is growing every year. We train those people now that the internet is there. Video conferencing has become so common in COVID. So the training, etc., is done from here. And we have our senior managers from India at every location who control those teams. So the medical reps are locals. And these are the therapeutic segments which we are currently in. And we there are several innovations in the pipeline for 2 very important therapeutic indications. And hopefully in the next 3-4 years, you will see at least 6 or 7 good products coming out. All of them absolute innovations. While I did go through this, I wanted to share something called the concept of the golden circle. So it's a very short presentation, but I would want the audience to, it explains why one innovates. I discovered this in retrospect, but now that I know it, I would want all of you to know that what is the mindset required to... Share.
It's already shared. Just present.
It is shared, sir. It is shared.
Okay, thank you. I'm not comfortable with this webinar thing.
You just have to go for slideshow.
I think it's coming, yeah. So there is this concept of the golden circle, because I used to often wonder that why did we take such a tedious journey? And the journey is not only tedious but quite painful when you see rampant infringement happening. So, but then this will explain why we did it, why I personally chose this path, whereas we could have gone for US FDA and EU and reverse engineered generics. And it will help people in the audience who want to innovate to know what it takes, what kind of a mindset is required. So these are some of the innovations of the 20th century. Let us focus on the aeroplane, which was a breakthrough actually. It enabled man to fly. So most of you must be aware there were 2 teams working. Of course, the name that is in the memory is Wright brothers, but there was also this guy, Samuel Langley, who was in parallel working to put man in the air. So, as history has shown, these guys were successful. And even though is important, none of their team members including them had a college education. They were funding the project from their small bicycle shops earnings. The media ignored them. Now, all this is 100% applicable. So I also started with 8 lakhs, and whatever we have earned, we've not gone public for that reason. So there is no pressure to give dividends. Everything is plowed back except for what we need to live a simple, decent life. And the media ignores. media will mention every single reverse engineered product that comes out is approved in the US. They will not give you any space for an innovation which is path breaking, backed by US, European, you name it, all patents. We do send them press notes, but unko possibly they don't even understand because nobody is doing this. So unko लगता है ये कौन सा company आ गया है. And Samuel Pierpont was unsuccessful even though he was a scientist with education in Harvard, given 50,000 by the War Department, greatest of engineers he had hired. His research was followed by the news media all the time. That's what we keep reading even today. In some university, if something has happened, which is not even a final outcome, it will find mention in our Indian newspapers. IISc Bangalore में क्या हो रहा है कभी पढ़ते हो आप? Such a big demotivation for the researchers. I remember the Nobel Prize winner, I forget his name, Venki, I think, when he was being chased by Indian journalists after he came back to MS University on a visit, just after he had received the Nobel Prize, he had chided the journalists and told them that I have done good work, I do agree, but better work than me is being done by IISc. I don't get to read anything in your newspapers. So the Wright brothers are credited with the discovery of the first man carrying flight. Why very few leaders can inspire and why some others cannot. Wright brothers inspired inexperienced and poorly educated people. And Langley, with all the power of the government behind him, the money and the knowledge, could not. And that same raises the question why only some organizations are successful in innovation and others struggle. So it's like a DNA actually. Only thing is that you can build this DNA. It's not something inherited. It's a thought process which builds your DNA to innovate. So this is the answer. So when you want to do a business, any businessman knows what, how, and why. So क्या करना है? चलो हमको pharmaceutical formulation में जाना है. Maybe I want to go only injectables or I want to have everything. So we know, most of us, we know what we want to do. At least when we start, we know कि ये करेंगे इसमें बहुत हमको मजा आएगा. How also, either the entrepreneur knows or he hires people and the product takes shape, product or a service. It's not just about products, it's also about a service. And the why, as I said, everybody knows. What is the purpose of doing business? मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? So for most businessmen, the answer is, sorry, it's disappeared. To make money. वो तो हमारा prime goal होता है सबका. मेरा भी था. I'll not deny it when I started, but then gradually somehow I meandered onto and realized that more than making money, doing something which gives you satisfaction is better. And that's what produces the extraordinary people. So this is ordinary people. They will start from the what? पहले decide करो कौन से धंधे में जाना है. फिर decide करो कौन से expert लेने हैं तो बन जाएगा. कैसे बनाएंगे? और गोल वाई का तो जवाब ही है कि भाई इतना प्रॉफिट आना चाहिए, प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट बन गया है हमारा. So that's called outside in approach. But the extraordinary people, they are inspired people and they think, act and communicate from inside out. Why do I want to do a particular or develop a particular service or a product? Answer cannot be why, because that is a universal answer, because you're in the business of doing business. But if the why is that to provide something superior, to add value, to give my customer what he wants, then it produces a power of a brand or a product or a company which gets unleashed, and the companies survive and flourish in the long term. So in the lives of organizations, 50, 70, 80 years is not long time. The real long time is a century. So all those who think that we are very great at 50, like we are today 38 or something. So ये तो test नहीं है. The time of test will come after 75 years. So if I just have generics, and at that point of time, right now what has happened in the US, overcrowded with so many Indian players, तो price war हो गया. Now everybody says कि इसको diversify करके ROW में जाओ. So that is when you start with the what, this is what happens. When you start with the why, you come out with good things. So this is the flow: why, how, and what. So approach is actually in sync with the biological process in the human brain. So you're not even conflicting your own thought process. See, this is a very brief insight I'm giving you. You can check it out on the Google or any books of this marketing. So the neurocortex is higher order of thinking and is responsible for rational, analytical thought and language. Whereas the limbic brain, it's responsible for feelings, trust, royalty, behavior, and then decision making based on all these things. So as you can see, it's more about emotions, limbic brain. Now, we say that business में emotion नहीं होना चाहिए. That is applicable to transactions. When you're negotiating with somebody, maybe you may not have emotions. You can be ruthless. But when you're trying to think why I want to do something, let there be some emotion. Let there be a feeling for the customer. And that thought process will now superimpose with the communication messages. You will see that, I'll show you. So the brain corresponds to the golden circle, what, how, why, when we communicate from inside out. And then we're talking directly from the part of the brain, the limbic system that controls, as I said, feelings, loyalty, trust, behavior, and decision-making process. So if you go inside out, you are actually sequencing your thought thinking process in alignment with the geography of the brain. So when you move from the outside in, you are simply following the same thing as everyone. But when you move from inside out, you are empowering yourself and are being remarkable, because you're first deciding something which is an easy question, you're making it difficult. Why I want to do business because of money, तो question का जरूरत ही नहीं है, वो तो है, it is ingrained in every entrepreneur's thought and mind. But why I want to do business so that I can add value, I can help my customer, I can make something more meaningful. That is something. So let's take the digital world, for example, Amazon. Many people hate it, but he thought of the why. Why should people go out? Why should people spend their time, waste their time traveling, parking, all those hassles which were there in the Western world? Why can't you give something to people at home? No matter how much trouble it takes for me to send those small parcels with an open guarantee of returning back. All this digital media is actually working on the golden circle. That is why they are enjoying the valuations. If you look at, ask the why this fellow has done this, you will get the answer. Now, Uber did it so that he could make it easy for the passengers who want to travel by taxis and kind of liberate them from the taxi unions, etc. So they answered the why correctly, and they also wanted to generate employment of so many people who had a car. And that was the emotion and the feeling. But then when you get greedy, Uber tried to bargain too hard with the drivers, and the system started crumbling. They forgot the basic why, that to provide a service, you need people. And it's the people who are to be committed, dedicated. They want to share your journey, knowing full well that my company is taking time to grow, taking time to register products. Another company doing the what, how, why, is racing ahead. But there are people of that kind who are available, who are there and who enjoy this journey. Otherwise, we couldn't have grown. We were certainly not the best paying company in Ahmedabad, and even today we are certainly not the best paying company. Ahmedabad has 3 other giants, all 70 years old. So obviously they pay more, they have a bigger footprint, they are older than us by almost a factor of 2. But we also have a team we are proud of, actually. So this explains Wright brothers why they succeeded and Samuel failed. So these guys, they believe that if they could make a flying machine, it would change the course of the world. Had a team which also believed in their dream. Team worked with blood and sweat and tears for one objective: how? How to build a plane. That was a question there. And in every innovation, the how is there. It's a big how. The how is like, I'll give a analogy. It's like digging a tunnel through rocks without knowing whether this trajectory which you're digging is going to give you an opening at the other end. It may not. You come back, you start digging another direction. So the how was handled by their team, and successfully they developed the process. I mean the aeroplane. And compare this with Samuel making an airplane. He wanted to become rich and famous. It's a very common disease. Trying to become rich and famous, then you start riding the tiger. I remember the words of Satyam, Computers CEO. He had, poor fellow, said that I was riding the tiger. And we know so many have ridden the tiger in the past and they've run into troubles. Had a team of qualified engineers who did not have any purpose other than paycheck, a mercenary attitude. Employees with a mercenary attitude will never help you build the company. Were working by the conventional outside-in approach, and ultimate result was obviously a failure. So what is our mission? The why of doing business is to achieve a prominent position in the pharma industry as a company by gaining recognition of the medical profession while providing valuable solutions in healthcare to the society. So if I give Dynapar AQ, if I give Naso B12 and many more which are in the pipeline, each time the doctor is reminded, यार डाइक्लोफेनेक 100 कंपनी लेके आता है, ये लोग नया करके आ गए, कल कोई और मॉलिक्यूल में ऐसा करेंगे. We strive to meet the demands of our goals by specifically focusing on fundamentals of excellence, which are innovation, quality, and service. This horses in the logo, they actually symbolize these three facets of our company. Our quest for excellence encompasses all aspects of business. So it's not just innovation that we excel at everything. Everything that we do, at least we strive to. We have people who are perfectionists, and therefore, while choosing people, we have to be very careful because many times there are people from known companies, but the work culture there is such that he can't fit in this work culture, which is very structured, streamlined, and aimed at bringing out excellence from every employee. And we believe that unless we think differently, we cannot innovate. We have to discover the why. So 376 patents and clinical trials. The lesson was taught to us when we launched Dynapar AQ. We had just one clinical trial and we were trying to sell the product. Obviously, MNC ने circulate कर दिया कि India जो additive use किया है, that has got this impurity and that impurity, and that was circulated on blank paper. But the credibility of an MNC is so high that the doctors started asking our people, medical reps and managers, या पर अंदर आपने जो डाला है उसके अंदर ये impurity है, ketone है अंदर. हमने तो anticipate भी नहीं किया था. So that moment was lost. As field staff was defeated. हम नया लेके गए हैं और ये डॉक्टर तो बोल रहा है आपका टॉक्सिक है, whereas it's safer than what you are administrating. Another thing which shook us up, I told you about intramuscular and pain. So a lot of interiors, डॉक्टर्स को जब बोला गया कि ये पेनलेस ड्रग डिलीवरी है तो बोलते हैं इसका मतलब क्या है. हमारे पेशेंट्स को तो अगर सुई पेन नहीं करेगा तो बोलेगा कैसा बकवास इंजेक्शन दिया है डॉक्टर ने. But then we realized that clinical trials matter. So we ran a series, about 12 clinical trials, one after the other. And now for every product, these technologies that you see here, it's not just name. There will be a clinical trial available. Maybe 1, 2, 5, 6, depending on the size of the product. Everything is backed by clinical trials which get published, not just privately held data on file. And all conducted some of them independently. Initial ones are sponsored, of course, because that's what the DCGI mandates. And look at the power of the product. 75 mg per 3 ml. आप market में लेने जाओ मिलेगा नहीं अब. Every company is using Troikaa's technology and selling the 1 ml diclofenac. As I said, we lose 380 crores of sales. If the IPR system and the judiciary were in order in India, we would today be a huge multinational actually. Because, and it's not that हम एक एम्प्यूल का ज़्यादा ले रहे हैं, हम जो ले रहे हैं वो कॉपी कैट भी ले रहे हैं, same price. They have tweaked the formula slightly, still they are infringing. But the satisfaction, I think what you get when you're working on the why is that you look at it this way, that at least all the Indian patients are now getting the best version of diclofenac injection in the world, whether it's from Troikaa or from other companies. So now let's understand Dynapar AQ from why, how, and what. So why was it conceived? Because administration of conventional diclofenac injection induced pain due to muscle damage and organic solvents, embarrassing to the patient because of the administration of the gluteal route. So how to eliminate all this? So once we knew the features which are responsible, so we achieved this breakthrough by dedicated effort to provide a complete aqueous. So organic solvent avoid kar diya, and we reduce the volume as well. And one thing is missed out here. Although the concentration is 3 times, 25 mg says 75 mg per ml, the viscosity remains the same. Because viscosity also causes pain and also slows down the diffusion of the drug from the site of injection. So onset slow ho jata hai. So Dynapar AQ, which is aqueous, has less volume, can be. What is a product which took birth? This is what it took birth. And is the world's first 75 mg per 1 ml painless injection. So the inside out and from why to what approach. Come to the topicals, as I told you, the gels, the aerosols, they are used rampantly, but Troikaa's belief to manage this pain by targeted drug delivery led to the discovery. Targeted, matlab, maximum drug should accumulate at that point of time. See, when you take an oral, it invades the system, it infiltrates every part of your tissue. So the kidney is also hurt and the heart is also hurt, the stomach is also hurt. But if you have a targeted drug delivery for a situation like, for an indication like pain, which is always localized, then you can minimize or eliminate the side effects actually, and in fact give very potent action. So here again, the why was, as I said, absorb नहीं होता है, तो क्यों ऐसे products है, तो why can't we do something which will get absorbed through the skin in a significant enough manner to provide a targeted drug delivery. The how then what is described in the patent with full details. Indian patent makes it mandatory to justify, otherwise it's one of the most difficult patents to get in the world, because there is a conflict within the society. एक स्टेज आता है या एक इवेंट आता है, तो एवरीबडी इन द रूलिंग कम्युनिटी एंड एवरीबडी से इनोवेशन करो, ये इनोवेशन नहीं हो रहा है, एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट में इनोवेशन नहीं हो रहा है, और दूसरी बात बोलते हैं सब सस्ता चाहिए हमको, तो मुफ्त भी दे दो तो भी उनको सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं है, ये हालत है हमारे कंट्री का, तो इनोवेशन कैसे होगा. We are trying to, and we have now finally succeeded. I'll tell you about this intellectual property pathetic scenario. There is no IPAB court. IPAB is the Intellectual Property Appellate Board. It has been discontinued because the notification got over, and they said we'll immediately shift it to the courts, usual courts. Neither that has been done, nor this has been started. There are 5 of our product patents stuck for last 5 years. Secondly, patent grant कर दिया, infringement हो गया, तो nobody is really bothered except the innovator, because market को सस्ता मिल रहा है ना. That is a myth actually. They feel कि because there is competition price कम रहेगा. तो वो socialism का जो principle है, it is in conflict with the principles of the mindset required for innovation, and there cannot be a base assumption that all innovations are going to be expensive. So multinationals can do that. They don't belong to this country. But a company born, brought up in India, which has grown because of Indian customers, do you think we'll have that kind of a cold heart to rip off our own customers? And even if someone has it, there is a provision in the Indian Patent Act where the government can resort to compulsory licensing. So I have taken up this issue, but as I said, I'm in an absolute minority of 1%. So kuch hoga nahi, but that's fine. Developed QPS, which can penetrate through the skin, provide effective pain relief directly at the site of pain, and reduce the need for oral anesthesias and protect the vital organs from damage. if I make diagrams for all our products, they will have the same approach. So just for example, let's compare the two which you've seen, Dyna per AQ and QPS. तो सेम आ रहा है दोनों का. So this got us the awards and lots of awards. Okay, so now I told you about the messages for communication of your sales. People don't want to buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So if you've created Amazon to make life of the customer easy, वो उसको पसंद आता है. If you made a product which is causing less pain at the muscle, not causing abscess, of course he likes it. He wants to buy that. There is a general fundamental principle. The central why is very important. That why has to be customer centric, not I centric. मेरे को पैसा बनाने का है. So now come to the employees. Indispensable to chase the golden circle. Like I said, without employees you can't chase it. Because process slow hai, process is full of failures, process is agonizing. You have to keep inspiring them. So who was Charles Taylor? He was hired by Wright brothers as a mechanic to repair bicycles at their shop. He played a significant role to make the dream of Wright brothers a reality. He designed the required engine for the first engine-driven flyer of Wright brothers. An important factor in Wright brothers' success was the contribution of their employee, Charles Taylor. Charles believed in the dream and purpose of Wright brothers, so he gave his blood, sweat, and tears to this project. That was the reason Charles was able to build a plane without even having a college education. So these are some of our people when we talk who have contributed to our success. We intentionally have put the pictures of our people working in various countries. Who all of them we call them for a grand celebration. It is those who have achieved the targets to India at one of the resorts and give them a grand time, because without them this would not happen. So they have given the blood, sweat and tears to achieve the objectives and mission of Troikaa. They have challenged the competition and have made the impossible possible. They believe in the mission and dreams of Troikaa. They work for the purpose behind value-added solutions to the society, not merely for their paycheck. I told you the same thing, that we are not necessarily the company paying the highest package. In every endeavor, they start with the why. And therefore, whenever you think of developing a new company or setting up a new enterprise, think of why do you want to do it. Think in the context of your customers. Whenever you promote an innovation or a high quality product, always promote it in the context of the why. It's so simple then. Doctor को भी क्या बोलना है मालूम है? Sir painless, sir 5 times penetration. इसलिए why से शुरू होगा आपका message. The said product will be extremely beneficial to the products. Remember the 2 points and your success is assured. Thank you.
That was awesome, sir. Thank you very much. It was gripping and people have been glued to the webinar screen, and your voice was so wonderful, mellifluous, I should say. It carried the conviction through. And now I request Mr. Harish Jain ji, because there are a number of encomiums and also several questions there. I think Harish Jain ji would be the right person to field them. Please, Harish Jain.
Thanks, Ketan bhai. Powerful. I think I don't know, more than anybody else, I feel motivated. And
that's the idea. Everybody should be.
And the takeaway, I think an immediate takeaway, what I can immediately say is your why needs to be very powerful. I think without this powerful why, you cannot succeed. Now, with that background, I just want to ask you a very simple question. You might think I'm just a kind of a student asking you this kind of a question. I think one of the participants has asked you, what was when you started with your investment of 8 lakhs rupees, what was your initial motivation for innovation?
Yes, excellent question, because the answer will tell all of you how it actually happens. So initial motivation there was no motivation to innovate. How can there be? the whole society is reverse engineering, how can there be a motivation? So I was also destined to, I had thought that reverse engineered generic थोड़े injectable बनाएंगे, थोड़ी tablets बनाएंगे, capsules बनाएंगे, and my father was a partner in another company in Ahmedabad, and I had worked there for 2 years. So वहाँ भी हमने generic पूरा देखा था. And then when I started making those same generics, innovation was not on my thought, but destiny kind of steered me. What happened was that when I came out of my dad's company, Ahmedabad mein textile business was crashing, and people had a lot of money. So everybody and anybody in textile industry with money was setting up pharma plants. So when I left my dad's company, the number of companies across Gujarat, pura mila ke, I think 50, 60 companies were there. And just 2 or 3 large ones, rest them all very small. By the time I set up Troikaa, there were 300 companies. Today there are 700, 800. So then जो generics का plan था कभी ये cost पे paracetamol बेचेंगे, तो pricing started going below my cost. So one day a wholesaler told me to pity on me and he said कि भाई केतन भाई तुम आते हो लेकिन ये paracetamol आप 96 का भाव बोल रहे हो 1000 का, ये मुझे 92 में मिलती है. So I couldn't fathom where am I going wrong? I'm trying to buy the raw material at the best price. कोई overhead नहीं है, 5-7 worker थे. So then after a few visits he said कि देखो I'm telling you something in confidence, but तुम नहीं कर पाओगे ये. बोला क्यों नहीं कर पाएंगे? And I was a pharmacist with gold medals and all, it doesn't count. So he said कि देखो इसमें ये डब्बे हैं, आप देख रहे हो पैरासीटामोल के? हाँ मैं देख रहा हूँ. तो उसके आदमी को उसने बुलाया. देन ही सेड कि काउंट करो इसको टैबलेट को. तो 1000 का उसने काउंट लगाया तो अंदर से एक डब्बे में से 920 निकला, दूसरे में से कुछ 960 निकला, तीसरे में से any 5-6 डब्बा. ही मेड मी एक्चुअली सिट एंड काउंट. ही सेड ये करोगे तो होगा बोलता है. और दूसरा ये बोला वो टाइम पे क्या फार्माकोपियाज वर क्वाइट लिबरल बिकॉज इक्विपमेंट्स अवेलेबल कुड नॉट डिलीवर एक्यूरेसी. तो मिनिमम वैल्यू ऑफ पोटेंसी वाज 95. टुडे मोस्ट ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट पोटेंसी 98-99. तो बोलता है आपको ये भी आना चाहिए कि 96% पे टैबलेट कैसे कंप्रेस करोगे. तो 4% वहाँ से ले लो और बाकी इधर से ले लो चोरी करके. सो देन आई वाज जॉबलेस वर्चुअली. वी सफर्ड ह्यूमिलिएटिंग लॉस. आई हैड borrowed some 15 lakhs from Gujarat State Finance Corporation. They served us a notice for an auction. And then an incident happened where a friend of mine, he said a patient died because an injection was not available. So it just kind of alerted me कि कौन सा injection था. So he said pralidoxime, aldoxime. I had never heard the name of that API. हम तो सारे ethambutol, कोट्राइमोक्सोजोल, टेट्रासाइक्लिन वो टाइम पे तो वही चलता था सब. So it kind of also hit my self esteem that how come I don't know about a drug. बनाया नहीं अलग बात है, पढ़ा भी नहीं कभी है. एंटीडोट्स इतना छोटा चैप्टर है और इतना एक्सक्लूसिव है, हार्डली इट इज टॉट इन द स्कूल्स एंड आई मीन फार्मा स्कूल्स. So I found the formula and I went to the library at Atira. No resources that time, there was no internet. I got a patent from the Indian Patent Office, Nagpur, who charged me 6 rupees for a US patent. They sent it by mail. And then tried to manufacture the API because nobody was selling the API. So API बन नहीं रहा था, and as per the patent, the yields were pathetic. So then actually I wondered one day कि medicinal chemistry किया है तो उसका application करना चाहिए यार, आगे publication में जो भी किया हम क्यों करें. So then I read the book again, Mechanism of Chemical Reactions, then took the trials and the yield shot through the roof. That was the kind of turning point that let's base the business. And there was a big why in that. The doctor told me कि ये injection नहीं मिलता है तो जो बेगोन और टिक 20 लेके आता है गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल में वो मर जाता है और पूरे हिंदुस्तान में मर जाता है. So that was a big why for me to work on. It was a very niche product. तो मुझे पता भी नहीं था कि इसका पैसा कितना मिलेगा. Because वो time there was no IMS data with me, nothing. I just knew one doctor who said मैं VS में use करता हूँ. तो बोला इतना तो करते हैं कि गुजरात में चलेगा. But it was such a desperately needed product that when we made it, dealers from all across India used to physically come and pick it up and take it away. So that taught me the why. After that, we never looked back. We decided cyanide antidote. How much do you think we sold in the first 15-20 years? कुल मिला के 1 करोड़ का नहीं बेचा था. अब जा रहा है regularly. So, but it was serving a purpose. For the cyanide antidote, let me tell you how the whys impact you. If you are sensitive and if you're not looking at money, there's a company which was earlier owned by the government of India. Now Reliance has taken over. I forget the name. Chemical company है वो fertilizer के पास. हाँ, IPCL, correct, absolutely. So they use a lot of cyanide. So one day I got a phone call कि आपने वो एक नव गैस का एंटीडोट बनाया है डॉक्टर पटेल, तो व्हाई डोंट यू मेक अ साइनाइड एंटीडोट फॉर अस. आई सेड नहीं, बट साइनाइड एंटीडोट आई हैड नॉट हर्ड ऑफ इट. आई सेड वो तो चलेगा ना, आपका एंटीडोट हम ले लेने. मैं बोला भैया एंटीडोट अलग अलग होते हैं, मुझे पता नहीं है आप कौन से साइनाइड एंटीडोट की बात कर रहे हो. तो बोलते आप कब हो अहमदाबाद में? कोई मैं अहमदाबाद नहीं हूँ अभी. तो नेक्स्ट डे दे गो बाय कार and brought an antidote, expired one, from which they were regularly importing from England. इसको सर बनाइए, हमारे इसमें भी शॉर्टेज हो जाता है कभी, तो मर जाते हैं हमारे लोग. So we made the antidote. So initial years, volume top lines were very poor, but it taught us the way to do business, and that is what gives us a satisfaction कि भाई कितना भी infringement होना है होने दो, उसका अलग से वॉर चालू रखेंगे. बट विल नॉट गेट डीमोटिवाइज कि यार कुछ भी नया करो सब कॉपी कर देते हैं, करने दो.
I think I had read in one of the interviews by the CEO of Nike, and that was initial days 90s, and they were saying okay, you have like you sell your t-shirts and your sportswear for thousands of rupees, but then there are a lot of copycats which are available for 100 or 200 rupees, and his answer was very simple: they are doing free advertisement on my behalf.
Exactly.
And people who buy for 100 rupees, they know it is a duplicate, and when they can afford to buy that 1,000 rupees Nike t-shirt, they will buy the 1,000 rupees Nike t-shirt.
So very true. We get letters from our managers and all in the field narrating के आज ये फलाने डॉक्टर ने ये कंपनी वाले को फायर कर दिया. ये क्या कॉपी करते हो, जो भी ट्रोइका लाती है आप ला देते हो.
I think what happens in our marketplace, I think our Sunil Chiplonkar, who is deep into marketing and is one of the stalwarts in Karnataka, and with our competition and to rush into the things, what we basically forget is what's the needs and desires of your customers, and what are the problems, what are the deepest of the problems we can solve. I think these 3 golden words we forget. I think Mr. Sunil Chiplonkar can tell us more about that.
Yeah. See, Troikaa is, of course, a legendary company in the sense we used to be fascinated with the kind of innovations that Troikaa used to bring out. But what was more fascinating is I used to always wonder how they will do the diffusion of innovation, particularly when the product patent regime was not applicable in India. So diffusion of innovation is another subject, and creating an innovation is one subject.
Absolutely.
So what I am requesting Dr. Ketan sir is, how have you responded to the challenge of diffusion of innovation? Can you please shed some light on that? Because it's a separate
yes,
topic.
It is. So are you trying to tell me from the marketing angle how to diffuse the innovation and make the customer aware of it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, what are some tricks of the trade that you have learned?
Yes, very true. Like I said, and you put the finger on the spot actually. Thank you for asking this question, because let nobody believe that innovation मिल गया तो आपको ब्रह्मास्त्र मिल गया है. इंडियन कंपनीज के लिए ऑपोजिट है. मल्टीनेशनल आके एक कॉम्बिनेशन भी नया लॉन्च करेगा ना तो डॉक्टर्स भी लैप इट अप, ये तो दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा ये ड्रग लेके आ गए. आप लेके जाओगे तो ये डिफ्यूजन का इशू इतना बड़ा आता है. डॉक्टर पहले हमको तो देयर वर सो मेनी डॉक्टर्स हु टोल्ड अस इन द डायनापार एक्यू लॉन्च टाइम, नो आर्टिस्ट ने नहीं बनाया, आपने कैसे बनाया? नाउ हाउ डू यू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन? So diffusion is something extremely important. But if you have followed the why to what, then you have a story ready-made, first of all. Secondly, you have to back the story with clinical trials, because doctor ultimately you are your own promoter. तो आप तो सब बोलोगे मेरे प्रोडक्ट में ये है वो है, डॉक्टर को पहले डोज लगाने में भी डर लगता है कि भैया इंडियन का. एंड अनदर पार्ट इज वी हैव this habit of making fastest and strongest and first in the world and all. Half the catalogs have that. तो हम उसमें ही आ जाते हैं फिर. So diffusion becomes a challenge. So one is to make sure your why is correct, support the why with clinical trials, and persevere, conduct a lot of seminars. We used to, Dynapar AQ, we must have conducted in 3 years' time more than 800 seminars in every medical college of the country and every corporate hospital. Because फिर word by mouth चलते हैं. We took a lot of recommendation letters. Some of the finest doctors actually wrote excellent letters. So we collated them into a book and we circulated all around. And finally, like you said, when the imitation ने copy किया, हमारा brand leader ने जब हमारा copy किया, तो they dug their own grave. Then even that small hardcore segment which wanted कि भाई हमको तो multinational में trust है, वो सब crumble हो गया.
Perfect, sir. Fantastic. What you have hit a nail on the head is nothing can shake the scientific knowledge which is disseminated along with the project. You are an MPharm PhD. You are so inspiring to us because of the scientific temper that you are embodying. So that is ultimate. That is why we raise our hats off to you. Sir, one more point I wish to ask is regarding very interesting question which Dr. Rekha Shetty madam has asked.
Okay.
She is asking, you have talked about the number of success milestones in your journey. Have there been no failures? Have you stopped a project somewhere because it failed? Can you tell some point on that? This is what.
Yes, I did mention it. So what she's essentially asking me is, did we dig tunnels where we didn't see the sky at the other end? I mentioned that there is a guarantee that you will keep digging tunnels. And for the 5 that are on the market now and another possibly 8 which are in the pipeline, I would say there are at least about 35-40 failures. Some failures after having worked for 3 years, 4 years.
Tremendous.
So we run parallel programs knowing full well that there is no guarantee. If there was an assurance and guarantee, how can there be an innovation? So और हमारे लाइन में एक और challenge है ना, that we have to prove it on living things. It's not engineering. Engineering you can predict कि अगर if I give this much tolerance to this part, then I am getting a fantastic fit for the part in any machine or something. I can patent that. यहाँ तो आपका section 3D पहले तो मांगता है that it has to be therapeutically superior to any product in the market or in the public domain, which means prior art. So a lot of tunnels with dead ends. That's where I said that the team counts a lot. See, this leads to the question, what kind of people to select? So when we interview people, one of the questions we always ask them very innocently is that, what kind of work do you enjoy to do as a scientist? Are you excited about developing a CTD dossier for, say, Europe or even USA and getting the kick out of the fact that it got approved? Or are you interested to do a novel drug delivery kind of work where you may work for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then the management says, close this down, it's not working, and then you want something else, and for the first 6 years, nothing has worked. So वो आंसर में पता चल जाता है. 98% people say हमको CTD करना है, because it's considered to be something supreme and like prestigious. I'm a supreme scientist now that I'm able to comply the reverse engineering process. Now that's the thought process. So we select people who say that, sir, मुझे तो NDDS, and I intentionally try to drive them towards USFDA.
Tremendous, sir.
People stubbornly say कि नहीं sir, मेरे को तो यही करना है. Then we ask him, आप मालूम क्या है? So he will tell us the products which we have made. And he said, I would like to be a part of this kind of a journey. So lots of failures, but build a good team. And Why also is not difficult. Now that I've told you all, if you start looking for the, like someone, I think Harish ji ka bola na, dissolution of paracetamol superior hai. So that's a small why, but at least something to talk about. Now validate it, generate some data, and then diffuse it. We started with 5 medical reps.
Oh.
Yeah, because कहाँ पैसा ही नहीं था, तो 5 medical reps recruit किए और फिर गुजरात में riots हो गए. Those days Gujarat used to have riots every second year. So all the people who were selected left because of the gap of 3 years, 3 months. Then we tried to recruit again, and we got only 3 people. So we started with 3 people and gradually built up a team. That was also another challenge. And there again, the diffusion got affected initially because we didn't have enough teams. So हमारा प्रोडक्ट इधर चलता था बहुत अच्छा, तो मध्य प्रदेश में नहीं चलता था, पता ही नहीं है डॉक्टर को, या टीम बेकार था हमारा. Now we have surmounted all that, so it's okay.
Tremendous, sir. You have gone really streets ahead and swum against the tide, especially during the 80s, and when people were swimming along with the generic wave, we have swum against the tide to create innovation. That is tremendous. Mr. Harish ji,
I've got one more question.
Mr. Harish ji,
Yes.
you can continue.
I think more than the question, what was learning what we get from him is not only the why, like how do you execute the project, the kind of vision what is required, vision and mission what is required, that is also quite important. And how do you motivate your team by being on the forefront of innovation? Like unless you do that, you can't make a difference. And one remark what I wanted to make was, when you do an innovation, like even if you take in the case of Dynapar AQ or Dynapar QPS, see, you already, the diclofenac, the safety and efficacy was already established. Now, what you need to prove is what are the changes you have done. That's it.
Correct.
And that makes it much more powerful.
Very true.
And it's easier. It is patentable instead of going to a new to
Chemical
launch
entity.
a new.
That's right. I mentioned right at the beginning that new chemical
Yes.
entity is like chasing a mirage, chasing a chimera. And it's not our game. Let the MNC, because MNC to kuch inferior bhi banayega, they'll still project it as superior. Yesterday I was trying to figure out, we are trying to work in novel delivery in other segments also. So one of the segments is migraine. And I was reading everything left, right, center. Then I came across 2 or 3 new chemical entities in migraine. And the publication made me believe that this is an advance now over these triptans and all. So I gave it to my medical cell and said that iska pura mujhe, I want data on how advanced this is. तो उसका जवाब है एडवांस है ही नहीं है. फिर भी चलेगा ये.
Correct, sir.
We can't afford to do this till another 10, 15, 20 from KSDMA also start innovating. Then doctors will start believing that yaar, Indian companies में भी दम है.
Tremendous, sir. Tremendous. Sir, it is now time to bring in a Gujarati flavor into this session. So I am having with me a colleague, Mr. Jatish Seth. Yeah, you can speak as it is.
Ketan bhai, absolutely inspiring, very inspiring. I have got one question for you. What is your aim in life?
I think the aim in life is to derive satisfaction through ideas, give birth to ideas, not just in product development. I derive satisfaction from designing product logos, from designing offices, my plants, aesthetics. It's just that possibly anything new which I envisage and imagine, and if I can bring it to life, then वो brain में dopamine release होता है मेरा. Otherwise नहीं होता है. मतलब even if I make a lot of money, I still don't feel good many times, because if there's a pause in between that there's nothing happening, then I start feeling very uncomfortable. In fact, I have just thought that I'm going to start putting up on LinkedIn some of the posters on innovation which I have created and animated them actually. I have created about 8 of them, of which actually are about the mechanics of innovation. कैसे करना है, क्या होना चाहिए, क्या होगा. जैसे ये डॉक्टर रेखा जी ने पूछा कि हाउ मेनी टाइम्स यू फेल्ड, देयर इज अ पोस्टर व्हिच एक्सप्लेन्स दैट. So what mindset do you need? So I keep doing this kind of things. I made a series of posters on management concepts like leadership, teamwork, culture building, etc. So our office is adorned only by those posters, and they are circulated as a book to every head of the department. So HR also imbibes that. So creativity, I think, only is the only mission in life, and also trying to spread what I am doing. So that's why I said I thank you all कि भाई कोई सुनने वाला भी है इनोवेशन के लिए.
Yeah, tremendous.
No, that's a tremendous aim. I think you must have read about Howard Hughes.
Yes.
Do you recall how he revolutionized the airline industry?
Yes.
He had nothing to do with the airline industry.
Correct.
And he realized that the flights flew only at 10,000 feet above sea level, and people were not willing to board it because of the rattling.
Yeah.
And he funded engines and went behind them. And that is how we say hats off to him, because he's the one who funded those engines which could take the flights up to 30,000 feet above sea level.
And I think at that point of time, he made the biggest aircraft in the world.
Yes.
Huge one.
But at the same time, the American government
Went after
bulldozed him
him.
into selling his airline to TW.
No, they went after him actually.
They went after him. And that is what led to his... But
तो भाई हमारा जो नोवाटिस का केस था उसमें हमारे गवर्नमेंट हमारे अगेंस्ट में था.
this is what happens. So that's what happens in innovation.
I had never imagined that in India a multinational company can have so much power कि एक इंडियन इनोवेशन वाली कंपनी को उड़ा देंगे ये लोग. The corridors of power in Delhi, I was not at all, and still I am not into any kind of liaising and all, because that's not my style. It's opposite of creativity. तो मैं कुछ किसी को जानता भी नहीं था. So I was aghast that so much can be managed by these big companies, and they have no qualms, no morals. जो करना है करवा लेंगे. वो तो क्या है कि they kind of made a head-on confrontation with the wrong guy, a Gujarati and a Patel, and they said कि आप उखाड़ लो कुछ नहीं होगा.
કેતનભાઈ આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહેવત છે પૈસો બોલે છે.
હા, પૈસો બોલે છે ને એમને પૈસાની ચરબી હતી, તો મેં હવે બતાવીએ તને.
એટલે it reminds me of one more thing. નાણા વગરનો ના થયો નાણાવાળો નાથાલાલ.
બરાબર. મેં સાંભળ્યા.
So this is what innovation is all about. I mean, definitely it has got a lot of challenges. Please go ahead.
Tremendous. No, you should be on here. Harish Jain, sir, do you think it's time for the vote of thanks? We have taken a lot of time from...
One final question
Sure.
to Ketan Bhai. What gives you satisfaction?
तो ये बताया ना, यही तो बताया मैंने. Working, trying to find creative solutions to any domain. Any domain. My office, my home, I have designed my home. I hired a very small architect. And then the whole furniture I have designed. A book is under designing. I'll send you the PDF.
Okay. I take this opportunity, Ketan Bhai, to invite you to your workplace, Bangalore,
Yes.
and visit some of the factories of KDPMA members. You'll be amazed to see we have in Bangalore some of the most modern factories in I think in whole of Asia, I can say.
No, I am aware of that.
And
I'm aware
I'll be
because
happy
I am aware because Kaushik Desai was in Bangalore.
Yes.
He was my classmate in MPharm.
Oh. And our Jyotish Bhai was his classmate in BPharm.
Who?
Manipal. Me and Kaushik were in classmates in Manipal, and we had a record of being the longest roommates in Manipal. At that time, hostel, everybody used to fight and get out, but me and Kaushik were together for 4 years as roommates.
Okay.
Very close
And
friends.
Bangalore, certainly, it is any time I would want to come. I have a friend, so I many times tell him that on a weekend I should come and go. So, karenge. When I come there, we will all meet up.
Yeah, and innovation is in the blood of Bangalore. We have a great ecosystem. Yes. On private chat, I'll share you the kind of ecosystem what we have here. And with a mentor like you, I think we will go great places. Like
anytime, any advice required, any brains to be picked, let me know, because I want company in this journey.
I think over to Mr. Jatish for vote of thanks.
It was very warm. Thank you very much. Now, Jatish Bhai, you shall propose the vote of thanks.
Ketan Bhai, applauds to you. Thank you so much for taking so much time and speaking out your heart. I can make out from what you spoke that you spoke your heart out. When you speak your heart out, it comes out very well. And it's all in your mind. Of course, as innovation, I had one more. Why, how, what, and when. And that probably that when is the one which you have touched unknowingly, and that has given the results.
Yes, very true.
I thank you so much. I thank the participants, the people who have heard through, Dr. Ganesh Nayak, Dr. Karvekar, Dr. Manvi, Dr. Shah, Ashok ji, Vivek Hatangri ji, all of you. It's very nice of you to take time off on a Friday afternoon and listen to this webinar. We'll have more of this.
Sure.
And I would always prefer a physical session rather than a webinar. So, Dr. Ketan Patel, I take this opportunity to invite you to Bangalore. When you are here on a weekend, please extend it so that we can spend some time together. You'll find you are innovating, probably not reached your heights, but definitely as entrepreneurs, as pharmacists, there are quite a few of them here. We'd love to meet them. We are part of your journey. I think please expect quite a few calls to you or quite a few emails to you asking them to join inviting themselves to join your journey. Thank you so much. So nice of you to spend time with us.
Sorry, I'm interrupting before we close. Mr. Dhiru Brahmdatt, I understand he was your classmate and he wanted to express his view, but unfortunately here you cannot express. Maybe you can put it on quickly in the chat box.
What is the name?
Dhiru Brahmdatt.
Acha.
From
my side, convey my remembrance to Dr. Karvekar.
Yeah. Sure, sir.
Sorry, I need to extend to my thanks to our overseas delegates also who are attending this webinar from Oman and other countries. So nice of them. That means Dr. Ketan Patel is well known all over.
Yeah.
One round of applause for him. I wish we could have done it.
No, that's all right. And one last message I would say is that never think that you are not up to a certain innovator. वो तो कभी सोचना ही नहीं चाहिए. 15 years ago, I was also not up to any innovator. So make a beginning, and I'm sure things will happen. Identify the why and work relentlessly. And I'm very glad that the question of diffusion was asked, because diffusion is a very important thing. आप बना के बैठा हो, उसके बाद अगर चलता नहीं है, you feel double frustrated.
Correct. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Wonderful meeting you. Thank you. Thanks.
It was wonderful. I take the permission of everybody to close the webinar. Harish ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harish. Thank you so much.
Thank you.